Alright, what's up family? I'm back. Show you the next steps on this console. Got one of these panels wrapped. Got the bolts installed on both pieces. Got this piece ready to wrap. I'm going to show you the finished outcome and the next step from the last video. So from the last video would be installing these studs into the wood. And if you remembered, I mentioned drilling the hole a little smaller than the bolt so it would screw into place and be solid. It won't push back through. Now kind of the opposite on this side. Before you do all that, of course have your pilot holes going through lined up, everything matching. Drill these out a little larger, that way these will slide into place. Maybe even have a little play if you need to move it for adjustment. So next step after that would be adding the foam. Also mentioned I'm using 3/8 foam, 3/8 sew foam. You can use any type of foam you use. This is called sew foam because it has a backing. It goes on seats. It's for sewing. That way the thread doesn't pull through. So I really didn't have to use this, but it's what I have in stock. So, once you add the foam, and add the extra for the edge, so it'll roll over and give a nice round finish. If you can see that. That way we don't see the real sharp edge of the wood poking through the material. I went ahead and went the extra step of adding the welt cord on this one just because I wanted the third color. If that's a problem for you guys, I did have to sew these together. This stuff is made by the roll too if you really want it. You can order it in several colors. You can do the same concept as this, or you can come up with your own idea. They also make this welt cord in LED light. So if you want a LED light or something on the edge of your console, you can go that route. Alright, of course that'll involve some wiring. You run it to a switch or a relay on a fuse to an accessory power. Now for this one, I'm going to trim this a little more. I'm going to leave about this much material. Staple gun I use is a pneumatic air with an air compressor. I would not recommend a handheld staple gun. That's going to be really aggravating and take you guys forever to do. But if it's all you have, more power to you. Again, I used 1/4" staples. I didn't even have 1/4" staples. I used 5/32, which is a little too small for comfort, but it worked on this one. Now when I did the thicker spots here, I had to use a thicker staple because I have more material built up. Always checking to make sure the staple's not going to come out the front. So I would double check that on a scrap piece or something if you're afraid of that. And this is pretty much furniture ideas. This is the way a lot of furniture is made. Someone asked me, I gave a real deep comment for someone asking how I started. And I started this trade, I assumed. It was with furniture and the basics on vehicles. Carpet, headliner, small stuff. So here we are together. Pretty cool. And once I add the nuts and washers from the inside, that's going to pull this in and really give us a nice closed finish there. I went ahead and finished my bottom front right here. I was going to leave extra material like I did on the back. That way I could wrap it around and staple and finish it also. Different consoles, you may have to come up with a different idea for your finish on the edges. So another comment I received was how to mount these, which I will try to go over in just a second. Back to stapling, the next step. When you go to staple this, we want to cut reliefs in here. So we'll cut some slits, that way we can stretch the material the correct way. It's too tight of a pull to stretch over here. Now when you go to cut these slits, make sure not to cut too far. So I'm a good almost an inch away from the edge of the wood. The rest of this I'm going to stretch out. I'm going to do a couple more. So around an inward turn like this, you're going to need 3, 4, or 5 little slits. You can take it that far if you want. So now we have more to work with and stretch. And covering something like this, you may want to attack the corners and start from the center out. course, start here, staple over, pull the other side after trimming this down, pull it over, staple. End up with this. Show you the back of this one more time. Show you my edges, maybe it'll help you unfolding your finished edges. You wrap a bunch of Christmas presents, and may help you learn how to fold these edges better. That was something I had to overcome on upholstery, learning to get good corners. Not too much bulk. I got quite a bit bulk here. I really forced the staple in tight. But once these are tightened down, it's down here in the corner, it's pulled in and gives a nice finish. We're good on this one. As far as mounts, let's go to it real quick before I run out of time on this clip. In case we do run out of time before I can get out here to the vehicle, on the front of my speaker box, my tripod fell apart, on the front of my speaker box I put some 2x4s mounted, pretty much just like these spacers inside here. So same concept. I have a 2x4 sticking out on the front of my speaker box that will fit within here. I have a couple of them, one up here and one down here, and now they will receive some screws from the sides. And then later, when I build these panels on the front of the box, hopefully the thickness of them will come out here, covering the heads of my screws. So there you go. And once we get it to that point, I can start building these panels and making sure these lines meet up with the new panels, instead of trying to figure all the measurements out before. Sometimes you have to do it as you go. For the front mount, I'm not happy with it. I had scrap pieces of metal around here, so I made a piece. I don't think it's the one I'm going to use, but I'm going to go to Home Depot and get me some better gauge metal and bend it a little neater. So this will sit on the transmission hole, the transmission tunnel. So actually I should have had a curve this way, so it will sit flush on that area. So I'll mount this to the floor in the vehicle. This is something you probably wanted to come up with too before we built the complete console. So I'm going to have to go back and kind of do this. So if we had the console unbuilt right now with no top on it, it would be easier to access and get in here and line these holes up for screwing in the side and get everything to where it will mount before it's being covered. So I kind of jumped the gun on this one, but it doesn't kill my motivation. I'll get it in there just fine. No problem. Now let's go out here and I'll show you on the vehicle itself, see if that helps explain it a little more. I think y'all got it. So there's my 2x4 sticking out here. And I want the line test fit it. I may even remove my passenger seat just so I have more room to work with. And my floor is actually pretty flat right here, so I may use this and just flatten the bottom out a little more. So I'm going to mount this down with 2 screws. I had a friend here just a minute ago mention, well, won't that cause rust? Yeah, I guess so, but it's the same principle as stuff like these screws are screwed straight through the floor of the vehicle. See how faded this carpet is? I was telling you this thing needs to be redone, something awful. I need some new door seals before I put carpet in here, so that'll come eventually. This thing was done 13-15 years ago, something like that. So we're mounting that down, and yeah, we probably will have to have the seats out of here so I can get to them from the side a little better. I think there's going to have to be more back here. Now if you're making a console that doesn't attach to anything behind it, which is probably most of y'all's designs you're going to come up with, you will have to make the mounts really solid on the floor. You may have to do this same concept in the back also. And the taller you make your console, the more it may want to rock on you. So keep it low, kind of like a normal console. Get it mounted tight to the floor and real secure, and you should be pretty solid. Best ideas and learning is the best. Here's a good one. Good comment I heard before. You learn in the now. So just go for it, and as you're doing it, you will learn. You'll figure it out, I promise. And if not, you'll find somebody that'll help you figure it out. So keep going, brothers and sisters. I will do one more clip on this. I've started back on the Monte Carlo last night. I'm gonna start back on it right now. So this is the back parts of the front seat. I'll finish that up next. And once I eventually get this all finished, I'll show you a clip of it done. So leave me any more comments on the last few tips you may need, and I'll put that on the finished video of this. Peace, and thank you very much for watching. Have a blessed day.